Today we deal with the Yukon. This was clean a couple hours ago. So my wife called me and said it started making noise. It was pulling, didn't feel right, so she pulled over and stopped, and I asked her to touch the wheels, see if one's hotter than the other. And the front rim, smoking hot. Look at the soot. So the caliper seized up. So I bought some parts. New rotors, new calipers, pads are in here too. Brake clean, some brake fluid. Now we're gonna tear into the Yukon for the first time ever on camera. We'll change out some front brakes because she needs the truck again tomorrow. So it's time to get to work. Start by lifting it up, getting some jack stands set onto it. Rotor. You take off the coupe. Today. Hard to see, but it looks like the pad on the front has gotten awfully small. They're both still there, so that's a good thing. Oh, I forgot to grab the Torx driver from in the house. I'm gonna go fetch that. We gotta loosen the caliper bracket bolts, make sure that the one that I have is the same, and then we're gonna pull this, we'll pull the caliper off first, try to push back whatever fluid might still be in there, and get this rotor off. I'm gonna see if I have any bolts that fit that thread. Maybe they can be used to help push and pop this thing out. Found 2 bolts in my stash of stuff. Hopefully between the 2 of them, something good will happen. That's pretty tight. That was a lot of effort, but we got it. Now those bolts were getting their butts kicked. Hope the other side's not as bad. Maybe because this one got so hot, it's really holding on. All right. Alright, next is bleeding the brakes, putting the wheel back on, doing the other side. I'll have to wait for my wife to be able to bleed the brakes because she's right now getting our daughter's bath done. Go from there. Gonna pop some anti-seize on this guy. My wife just helped me bleed these brakes. She was my official pedal operator. Did a great job. She had lots of practice when we did the Pontiac. So now we've got new rotors, pads, and calipers on the front of the Yukon. And the old ones weren't that bad. The pads were still, I'll bet the pads only had 30,000 kilometers because we just got this last year in July. And they had gone through everything on it. It's a 2012. Anyways, something happened and the caliper seized on the driver's side. I had the same problem before with my van, the work van. The front caliper seized up and the brakes were only maybe 5 or 6 months old at the time. So at least she caught it early enough where it wasn't a catastrophic failure. It was just overheated pad and rotor, and the caliper was overheated. She was able to pull to the side of the road safely, no concerns, and she waited. I got there to take a look at it, and sure enough, the caliper was stuck. So through the spoke of the wheel, I was able to smash this with a hammer a little bit, and I had a piece of, I think it was a masonry drill bit or something, and I smashed the caliper a couple of times, hoping that it was going to just unjam it for the sake of the drive home. And it made it, I'm going to say 80% of the way home before the last little bit when it started to catch again. We didn't go over 40 kilometers an hour, but by the time I pulled in the driveway, it was smoking. So it was cooked big time. And I already figured that much. It had done the same when she pulled over. By the time she had pulled over, it was already shaking. So it was time to replace it. No big deal. Oodles of money goes into it, but it's safety aspect of the car. You should spend some money on your brakes. So now I'm going to bolt the wheels back on, put it on the ground and torque them. And then we'll take it for a test drive and I'll take you guys along for a spin. Now it's time for the as promised test drive. If you look there inside the wheel, you can see brand new shiny rotors. Well, let's hop in and go for a little spin here. Right. Make sure nothing's gonna go flying in the back. Feels like they grab pretty nice so far. So this Yukon hasn't been any trouble to us at this point. This is the first issue I've ever had with it, with the exception of regular maintenance. I did replace a serpentine belt, which was starting to split and crack a bit, and also the idler pulley and the tensioner pulley. Both of the bearings were starting to make noise, so I figured that I'd be proactive and replace it before it was a problem. And then oil changes. I recorded video, but I never used it. I never uploaded it. It was the process I went through to undercoat the whole truck with Pour 15. I actually painted the whole chassis underneath just to seal everything up and keep it nice and protected from the elements. That is really all that's been done to this truck. And now the issue with the driver's side front caliper that just happened to stick, and it hung up enough to where it overheated, and rather than fighting with it and trying to unseize it or get it working again or even rebuild the caliper, decided to just replace it. But from the parts store I got whatever I can get the high-end version of. I want something as close to what the GM spec would have been originally. because I've replaced brakes with cheap parts before and you get cheap results, at least from me, from my perspective. That's what I've found. So these rotors are supposed to be a nicer premium version of the rotor, and I believe they're painted, so I'm sure the paint's going to wear off as I use them, but it's supposed to help prevent rust, so we'll see how those work out. Maybe they won't be so ugly so fast. Oh, the brakes are phenomenal. Give me change if I hit hard enough. Still got lots of travel left. I had lots of pad left too. Even on the caliper that was stuck, there was lots of meat, but it had just overheated so bad. I was more concerned that it might be a problem down the road than anything else. So I figured better safe than sorry, just replace it and say forget about it and write it off. Yeah, the brakes feel fantastic. Feel very good. But this is a 2012 Yukon Denali. We bought it secondhand. It has a trailer package on it, towing package, with trailer brake controller, sunroof, heated cooled seats. It's got all the goodies that I never wanted in a car originally, but once I had the Cadillac and kind of got accustomed to certain comforts like that heated steering wheel, it kind of became a thing that I really wanted to have in the next car we bought. And that DeVille, as you guys may remember, was starting to break down, and it wasn't anywhere near as safe as it should have been. Plus, a big part of it was we found out we were pregnant and decided that it was time to get a real vehicle. It was something that something responsible to drive around, that's going to be safe for everybody. And I've always had an eye out for these things. I never thought I'd ever own one, to be honest. I always thought they were going to be too much money for me. But this one being used, that's about the only way we would ever be able to afford it, I think. And there we go, family of raccoons. I missed them all. This sucker brakes good though. Oh, that's funny. Not for them, but well, I'm glad I didn't hit anybody. That's good. Alright. That's one way to burn in the brakes, right? As hard as you can, just hammer on them. Well, I guess this has been a successful test drive. Obviously the brakes are working, so I'm pleased about that. I'll have to check out the paint on them in the next couple of weeks, I guess, and see. I'm sure it's going to wear off. That would only make sense if it wore off. It shouldn't stay there all the time. That'd be strange. But I'll return my calipers tomorrow because they were the only part that had core charge, and I'll get a little bit of money back. But wasn't a cheap fix. I think all in all I'll be probably about $620 into it. That's Canadian funds, but it's a lot cheaper than if I was to take it to a garage. And fortunately enough, the fact that everything happened tonight, Justine called me just to tell me that something was wrong, and I went right away to check it out and found this problem, so we fixed it the same night. She's got the truck back tomorrow. I think that's about as good as it gets. I don't think there's a shop around that would have started the work at 5:30 or something, 5:45 or 6 o'clock, whenever I started working on it. It took me about 2.5 hours, but in that time I also had a guy stop in and pick up a set of Cadillac seats I've had floating around for a while now. I put them online, put a few things online just to see if I can get rid of them before throwing them away, and sounds like this guy could use them. His son's doing a project trying to fix something up, so hey, that works out perfect for me. I'm looking to get rid of them, so why not? Anyways, folks, I appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. It was a little bit hectic for me just trying to get it done on time, but we've succeeded. And I think we're gonna call it a night. I am wiped out now. I'm pretty damn tired, so I think that's gonna be about all she wrote. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks again.